everyone, and welcome to my Postpartum Recovery Series. If you've already watched this intro and you know how to go through this, just skip ahead to the exercise part and get started with those. Otherwise, stick around because I have some important information to share so you can get the most out of these videos and out of these exercises. So let me explain to you what you'll get by going through this series. The goal is to help you regain awareness, functionality, and strength in your pelvic floor and your deep core muscles. And we do that by working progressively. So there are 7 parts in this series, and you really want to be mastering the exercises in part 1, making sure you feel confident with them, making sure you have noticed some progress in your body before moving on to part 2 and working like this all the way through part 7. So it's really important to take your time while you go through this series. If you ever notice some bulging or coning, it means you have gone too far. And really, it doesn't matter if it takes you a little bit longer, just make sure you have mastered those exercises and really feel good about them before taking the next step. And another very important point that I need to make is that the foundation of postpartum recovery is breath work. So we are going to work with our breath all the way throughout the series. As the exercises get more challenging, the breath work stays. And yes, it can get boring, but it is essential. So if you don't know how to properly perform a core breath, make sure to check out the step-by-step guide that I've made. I'll link it down below. But just as a quick recap, really inhale 360 degrees around your core, into your ribs, into your back, into your pelvic floor, and then on the exhale, we want to gently lift the pelvic floor, zip our core up, the navel comes up slightly, and we bring our ribs down and in. And again, we don't want to be holding tension and we don't want to be gripping down. So also make sure that you continue to have a nice posture, shoulders are open, chest is open, and our spine is in a neutral position. And the third point I want to make is to just take your time. There is no timeline to follow. Everybody moves at different speed. It's all going to depend on how you were before you got pregnant, how much you did, how much you exercised throughout the pregnancy, how your pregnancy developed, how your birth was. So really forget about the timeline. It could take you 4 months, it could take you 6 months, it could take you a year. It really doesn't matter. Another thing to note is that if you're breastfeeding, it can take your body a little bit longer to recover as the prolactin levels are quite high in the body, and hormonally we just don't go back to our pre-pregnancy state until we stop breastfeeding. So to summarize, make sure you're working progressively through the series, don't skip any steps, take your time, make sure you're mastering the breath work. We are really working from the inside out. We're starting with that inner core, the pelvic floor, the diaphragm, the transversus abdomen, and then working our way out. And by the end of it, you'll be able to perform any type of core exercise that you wish. And again, just take your time. And another quick side note, if you've had a C-section, you should do some scar work before starting with part 1. I will make a video for that as well and link it down below. So maybe it will take you a little bit longer before you can start with part 1. And again, it doesn't matter, we're going to forget about any timeline. But yeah, so just make sure you are mobilizing the scar and desensitizing it before we go and start activating all those muscles around the incision. And that's it. I hope it all makes sense. If you have any questions, just leave a comment down below and let's get started with part 1. Hey everyone, and welcome to part 6 of our postpartum recovery. Today we're going to go through 4 exercises. You can grab a hold of a TheraMat if you have one, otherwise you can use a towel. We're going to continue progressing on what we did in part 5. We're going to work with our breath and we're going to add some isometric work. So come join me on the mat and let's get started. For the first exercise, we're going to get on our backs. So you can place the mat on the side. And we're going to start progressing towards a dead bug. What we're going to do is take the simplest version of it and make sure we are keeping our core under control. So we are in this position to start with. You can also raise your arms up if you prefer. And from here, we're going to work with our breath. So inhale. On the exhale, you know what to do. Nice and gentle lift on the pelvic floor, gentle lift of the navel. Today we're also going to work a little bit faster with our breath. We're not going to really focus so much on a big inhale. Simply inhale through the nose into the belly and exhale, lift it up, and then we get on with our exercise. So what we're going to do is we're going to push one foot into the ground and lift the other leg here. And while we do that, we want to make sure that everything stays under control in our core and that there's no bulging or coning happening in our belly. So from here, inhale, and on the exhale, push one foot into the floor, lift the other leg. And I just need to make sure that I'm in control here. You can also look or feel with your hands what's happening in your belly. You could even have a mirror and just make sure that the navel is slightly coming up and that again there's no bulging. So let's continue on the other side. Inhale and pushing the other foot into the mat, lifting on the other side. Very good, and let's do a few more. Also make sure your spine stays neutral. We don't want to be gripping or turning, tilting our pelvis. Nice and neutral position. So if you find this part easy and you feel like you got it under control, you can try it with an extended leg. So from here, inhale, and we raise a straight leg. Come back down, switch side. And if you really find this version easy, you could also bring both legs up and then from this position drop one leg. This is quite a big step forward, so really make sure you're keeping the belly under control on the exhale, and then move one leg down. Maybe you don't get as far as the mat, but you just move until you can, until you feel like you can hold it, and then come back. Still nice and neutral spine. I'm giving you a few variations here so you can choose whatever works best for you. And let's do one more. Okay, very good. For our second exercise, you can grab a hold of the bed and we're gonna hold it here over our chest, and we're gonna get into a bridge position. We're bridging up, pushing the heels into the mat, the glutes are nice and high, and we are in this position to begin with. Now we're gonna do bridge marches. So we work in coordination with our breath. Inhale, and on the exhale, again, push one foot into the mat, lift the other side. And at the same time, if you wish, this might help you connect with your deep core a little bit better. You can also pull the band apart. Now this is optional, so maybe just try it without at first, and then add the pull as you go. So inhale, exhale, pushing one foot into the ground, lifting the other leg. Okay, and switching sides. Now adding that pull on the bed, still making sure my hips are as high as possible and not dropping as I lift the foot. Nice and hard push with the foot into the mat. And let's do 2 more. Very good. Moving on, we're going to switch onto our sides. And we're going to get into a knee plank position. So I'm in a static position, shoulder over the elbow, shoulders, hips, and knees in line. And from here, we're going to stop working in coordination with the breath. I want to breathe through this exercise while maintaining a nice contraction of the knee core. So we're going to lift here, and this is our start position. So make sure, again, elbow is really under that shoulder. And from here, we're going to do some rotations. So we're going to reach under with the opposite hand, and then raise it up to the sky. And again, I'm reaching under, and here I'm not necessarily exhaling at a given moment. I'm breathing through it as I go. And what I want to make sure is that my hips stay high. Let's do about 8 to 10 rotations here. Nice and controlled, slow movement. Let's do 1 more. Very good. And we can switch sides. Again, I check in with my posture first and with my positioning. When I'm ready, lifting up. And here we go. Reach under and rotate up. Keeping those hips high. Let's do 2 more. There we go. And for our 4th exercise, we're gonna go into an isometric reverse plank. So we're gonna be on our hands here, fingers facing forward, and legs are extended. And from here, we're simply gonna lift up until we're in this reverse plank position. And here we're gonna breathe through it. So we don't need to necessarily focus on a big pelvic floor contraction. We're just holding this position. You may feel it a little bit more in your hamstrings and in your glutes, that's okay. Breathing through it, keeping those hips high. And here you can work for 20 to 30 seconds, whatever works, whatever you can manage at this time. Pushing through the shoulders, starting to get a little bit shaky. It's good. Let's do 5 more seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. And that's it. Great. These are the 4 exercises for today. Of course, ideally we would want to do multiple rounds. 3 to 4 would be ideal, but just manage with the time that you have. And I'll see you in part 7.